Now to Havana. It's been 70 years since a U.S. Secretary of State has visited Cuba, but that changes today when Secretary John Kerry lands in Havana to formally reopen the U.S. Embassy later this morning. Joining us now from Havana, Cuba, NBC News Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent and host of Andrea Mitchell Reports, Andrea Mitchell. What a day, Andrea.
It is an amazing day, Mika and Joe and all the gang up there. A beautiful day in Havana. Behind me is what is now a U.S. embassy, but missing the flag. We see the flag. You can barely see it behind the fence. It's going to be raised on the flagpole there, and that's a ceremony that's going to be about 9:45 Eastern. Kerry and a large delegation, congressional delegation as well, on their way now from Washington, already left Andrews Air Force Base. And there are three gentlemen, three former Marines who are going to play a central and I think really important emotional role in all of this. They are Larry Morris, Jim Tracy, and Mike East. These are the three Marines who lowered that flag in 1961 when diplomatic relations were broken after the Cuban Missile Crisis and, of course, the revolution. Wow. And everything went south. And they are going to be handing that flag to the current Marines who guard the embassy and raising it today. And what could be, greater than the Stars and Stripes being raised on this embassy? But that's not to say that there aren't a lot of issues, and there's going to be a big one today. They are not inviting Cuban dissidents to this ceremony. Instead, they will be invited later to the residence of the chief of mission here, who has been nominated, but won't be confirmed by this Congress to be the ambassador. And that is being criticized. There's no press coverage of it, and that's one of the questions, of course, that everyone's going to be asking John Kerry when we do interviews later today. Kerry has told our colleague, Jose Diaz-Balart, that he is going to do a walkabout. He's going to go to Old Havana and try to meet people as well. So it's going to be a day of ceremony, and we hope some surprises as well. And we'll have it all, and I'll be here at noon with a lot of guests, including some of the senators. And also, importantly, Joe, I know you know this gentleman, Carlos Gutierrez, who was the Republican George Bush Commerce Secretary, born, exiled from Cuba with his family, left here when he was 7, and he's coming back for the first time today.
All right, Andrea Mitchell, live in Havana. Thank you very much.
And Richard Haas, other than the symbolism, there's a lot of symbolism here. What is the real world effect of this, the impact of Hillary Clinton going to not Hillary Clinton, I'm sorry.
Secretary Kerry.
Secretary Kerry going to Havana and relations being reopened.
It probably reduces the isolation of the United States in this part of the world, because virtually every other country in the Western Hemisphere has relations. But, Joe, this is a big roll of the dice. Until this administration, the policy was the Cubans would have to open up, and then we would relax some of the terms of our isolation of Cuba. And what the administration has done is essentially turned it on its head. They've taken something of a gamble, and they said, let's open things up with Cuba, and hopefully that will set in motion a dynamic that Cuba will begin to open up even more economically and politically.
Well, Richard, that's the same bet that the president is making on a cosmic scale, as David Ignatius would say, with Iran. I mean, President Obama is no Jimmy Carter, a man who obsessed over human rights. Here you have dissidents that have been brushed aside. The same with Iran. They still have Americans that are being held in Iran. This president is making a cosmic gamble, and that gamble is that by opening relations with these countries, they are going to begin behaving more within the norms of the international community.
The difference is right now, Joe, is that with Cuba, you no longer have a strategic threat posed to the United States. Iran is something that's qualitatively different, and that's why, in some ways, the debate about Iran is far more intense than the debate is here about Cuba.
All right, Richard, thank you. Bob Costa, Amy Holmes, Eugene Robinson, and Steve Kornacki, thank you all.
Steve's not saying no.
No.
It could happen. It could happen.
You've been filling in for Chris Matthews
all
this week on Hardbell, so we'll be watching
tonight.
Great
job.
Thank you. And we will be talking plenty of Trump tonight.
Yeah,
I can guarantee you that.
Remember to resist. Okay?
It's not. You know what? It's not hard anymore. It was at the beginning, but I think it's stretched so long now.
The answer to the question why it was difficult before is something you need to look at.
All right.
Okay.
What is she?
I'm not sure.
All right. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about his brother. As 2 more senators come out to support the deal with Iran. Keep it here on Morning Joe.